Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Grow Leafy with Alethea. I am so excited to be here because I had a really cool opportunity to attend today the Organic Association of Kentucky's conference. It's the Oaks Conference, and it was actually held in Frankfort, Kentucky at the Kentucky State University on their farm, basically at their research, where they do a lot of research and farming. But I am just so excited I had this opportunity because this conference taught me a lot. There is just a lot of information, and I'm just going to give you just some brief takeaways that really stuck to me, just some information that I'll be able to share with you. But really, this is not just something that I'm just going to just pour all out the information today, because it is information that I've absorbed and then information I'm going to be reading. I've got books and lots of books of resources and even more. And so I will even link a lot of these books that I received for free and a few books that I purchased, but I'm going to link them in my description. So if you're interested, you can just go and look them up and just see for yourself. But I'm going to give you a few highlights of what I learned, what stuck for me, and hopefully that will help you as well. Like I mentioned, the conference had been going on for a couple of days, so there have been really great speakers I know that were there at the conference. So I won't be able to speak on behalf of that. I'm only going to be able to speak on behalf of today. And so today I got to start off the conference with a panel. This panel, let me tell you, very knowledgeable. And here's a picture of them as well. Yes, at the end of the panel, I was just like, "Can I jump and take a picture with you all?" And they were so welcoming. So I took a picture of them, and it was just really cool because here I am as a backyard gardener. That's what I am, a backyard gardener. I grow in raised beds. I am building up my growing area, and I garden in containers, and I even garden indoors. Now, these are farmers. These are farmers who have CSAs with maybe at least 75 CSAs and all the way up to over 1,000 CSAs. Now, a CSA is basically where a farmer will produce their organic foods and sell it to the community. And so if you're interested in a CSA, you can reach out to a CSA, be a part of that plan, and pay a certain money. There's a certain amount of money that you will pay, and then you will get a delivery of fresh produce. And so they're delivering through these CSAs. And so they've been doing this for very long, some from 10 years all the way to 30 plus years with a lot of experience. And they're not all from Kentucky, but they're from different areas in the United States. So they were asked just different questions that was very engaging and interesting. And one of the first questions was, what changes have you seen in your journey? And that was just really interesting to hear the feedback from these farmers that have been gardening for many, many different years and even many different decades. And one of the things that really stuck out to me is that the community has become more aware of organic foods and the importance of it and even the health benefits of it. And so, what I learned is that the demand of organic foods is great, it's huge. And they said it wasn't like that before, but it has changed. And one person even mentioned that when they are at farmers markets or they're interacting with their clients at CSAs and these different um, opportunities where they're delivering foods and selling foods, is that the community is interacting with them and asking a lot of questions, and they're loving the interaction that they're getting with the community. And they're asking these questions, and they're also being told now that even doctors and medical professionals are asking patients to look into eating a lot more organic foods and eating healthier. And so now they're starting to receive those questions. And so what I really learned from that is that we we are becoming a lot more aware of the importance of organic farming. And many of you, you know that I'm a gardener. I am not a farmer. I'm not a large, big farmer or anything like that. I'm a backyard gardener, and so are you. Many of you are in apartments and on patios and in containers, but yet you can still grow your own organic foods. And that's the beauty of it. And in order to be able to have that sustainability, you can grow your own foods. You can start saving your own seeds so that you can have long-term produce for many and many years to come. So that was very, very interesting. Another question that was discussed was talking about organic certification. So some farmers are certified and organic and some are not. And so they were just talking about the process and the business aspect of it, of how to transition a farm that has been farming but does not have the certification yet, and how to transition to that with all of the standards, the state regulations, and all that kind of business. And so they got into that. And so that was just really interesting to hear. But one thing that stuck out to me with that is just finding a mentor, having a mentor. So now when I listen to that, it just makes me think that even as a gardener, it is helpful when you have a mentor. It is helpful when you have someone else who has led the way, been through the path, the journeys, the ups and downs, who's able to give you some sound, good advice to help you through your gardening journey. It doesn't have to be a big, large farm. It can just be a next door neighbor or someone in your community that has been gardening for a few more years longer than you have, but they can be that wonderful resource that you need. Another question and discussion that came up was building community and how those farmers are building community, because statistics have shown, this was mentioned, that mental health is very, very high for individuals that are in the farming industry. And actually, that is one of the highest of stressful positions to be in. And I wasn't aware of that. And myself, as a mental health professional, I've been a school counselor, a social worker for many, many years. We're looking at about 20 years now that I've been doing that. And so I've worked with the community, people that have gone through a lot of stressors in life, a lot of mental health difficulties. And so learning that really surprised me, because when I look at gardening and farming, I'm looking at, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of a community, you're trying to put in foods into your body that will support it and help it to develop in a healthier way. However, when you're at the magnitude of gardening on larger scales and farming on larger scales, you are now spending an exponential amount of time growing produce, selling it, working with maybe different employees, hiring employees. You're going. You're going like on this hamster wheel, and it's going, it's going, it's going. And when are you finding the time to take care of yourself and take a break? So, as a gardener, I find it definitely as a form of self-care for myself. And many of you I know have expressed the same, it's therapeutic. But at the same time, there are times where we do need to stop, take a step back. If we've done a little bit too much, maybe we've grown a little bit more than we should have in that year. We spent so much time out there that we haven't spent time maybe with our family, our friends, and we have not had many interactions, to the point where we maybe have isolated ourselves. Or maybe you've overworked yourself to the point where you haven't had time to just breathe, take a break, go on vacation. And now the thing that you have found as therapeutic has now become work for you. All right? Or maybe you have not been able to figure out a way to create a sustainable garden situation where the ecosystem is working for you. So maybe you're just still battling with a lot of pests and problems. The climate is just really putting a stronghold on your garden. And so it's making you work even harder. So they talked about just having social interactions with others and really engaging with other people for your own wellness and your own well-being. So if you're hearing my voice, it's kind of crackly because it's late at night. It's like over 10 o'clock at night, going on 11 o'clock, and I'm making this video. But I just had to get this information out to you, and I want to make sure I did that before I forgot about it. I did ask them if they take vacations. I did. And they said yes, they take vacations in the winter, because that's something I was wondering. I'm like, I love traveling. You guys saw some of my videos on traveling. I love to travel, but notice I traveled in the winter because that's when I'm not producing as much in the crops. My beds and my garden beds are asleep. Let's see, just one other thing that really stuck out to me was just that they also emphasize how they all started small and then their business, it just built up. So for some it was very rapid, and some it was just really, it was slow paced, but it was over time. And each one of them had different sizes of farms, and some of them had, like I mentioned, had smaller CSAs and some had larger, but they did what they could do, manageable for the resources that they had. And I basically tell you all that as well, just to keep it simple. Starting out, you're starting out, keep it simple, and then grow from that, because you don't want to start a garden that's overwhelming and then you're not really able to maintain it, and then you're discouraged, and then you're not wanting to continue, and you're wanting to quit. Let's just move right along. One other workshop that really stuck out to me was by a lady named Laura Lengnick. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Laura Lengnick. She wrote this book, and I will, add this in the description as well. And like I mentioned, I picked up a lot of books. But she was really talking about resilient agriculture. And she was talking about, over the years, that she has done a lot of research and met with a lot of farmers across the United States, and interviewing them and spending time with them and just finding out how they really became resilient farmers. And so she really just gets into resilient farming. And what really stuck out to me, just like life, we go through different challenges. We go through problems. We go through losses. We lose family members. We go through illnesses and sicknesses. We lose our jobs. Sometimes we get into car accidents. And sometimes we may be feeling alone or depressed. We go through many different traumatic situations in life. And just like in nature goes through a lot of traumatic situations, and that affects our cultivation, our agriculture. And so as we are becoming and striving to be resilient people, it is important that as we are gardening and taking care of our crops, that we are resilient in protecting our crops. We are proactive. We are developing healthy soil. If we have healthy soil, it makes our plants stronger. We're able to hopefully reduce and ward off a lot of the pest issues that really cause a lot of problems on our crops and the fruit production. And as well, when the storms come in, if we have tunnels that are set up to protect our plants, or crop covers, or sometimes we got to pull our plants in to a sheltered location, there's different things that we can do. But as we can see, the weather is it's been just different. I have to prepare for any kind of weather in Kentucky. Kentucky is one of those states that's known, it will be hot one day and then we'll have cold ice storms the next day. That's just how it is where I live. We have all seasons here, but the weather is so drastic. It may be 60 to 70 degrees right now in January, but then that next week, and if I think that it's time for me to allow my crops to go outside because I think that it's warm, that it's going to stay for 2 weeks, and even if it is, on that third week, it's going to drop below temperatures that is going to kill everything. So we are to be resilient. We are to be proactive and not reactive. And so that's something that really stuck out to me, just to remember to be a resilient gardener as you're preparing, and prepare for the different climate, temperature changes, and things that just happen in our environment. Now, some of the books that I want to I'm just going to state to you, and just to share just briefly what they're about. Like I mentioned, Laura Lengnick, Resilient Agriculture, Cultivating Food Systems for a Changing Climate. The Rodale book of Composting. You know I love to compost, and you know the importance of composting. I know I just recently did a soil test. I'm going to continue composting because I know composting is very important for the environment. So I was so excited to see a book like this so I can continue improving my composting. The Forest Farmer's Handbook. I want to look more into forestry and foraging. And I have a lot of trees where I live. So I just want to understand and know what what's growing around me and have a better understanding of that, and especially if I'm visiting different parks. Here's a book called The Living Soil Handbook, The No-Till Grower's Guide to Ecological Market Gardening by Jessie Frost. So I was excited to pick up this book because I've actually been watching, or not watching, I've actually been listening to his podcast. And so I was really excited to see that this book was there. All right, this next book is called Farming While Black, Soul Fire Farm's Practical Guide to Liberation on the Land. And this is by Leah Penniman. All right, forward by Karen Washington. So I was excited to pick this up because it talks about all about farming. And as an African American woman, this is very helpful for me as well. The other book I picked up is The Organic Seed Grower by John Navazio. All right, by John Navazio. It is a farmer's guide to vegetable seed production. So very cool. I'm telling you all a lot of information. And this book was actually free. Like I mentioned, a lot of these books were given to me for free. Here is another one that was for free. Farming with Soil Life, a handbook for supporting soil invertebrates and soil health on farms by Jennifer Hopwood, Stephanie Frischie. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Apologize if I said your last name wrong. Frischie, Emily May, and Eric Lee Matter. All right, and I will post all of these. And the last book, the last one that I have is Managing Alternative Pollinators, a handbook for beekeepers, growers, and conservationists. Now, I'm not a beekeeper, but the bees are a part of my family because they come to the garden every day and they're very important. And I want to understand them, understand how they work, and create an environment that will be beneficial for them. So they want to keep coming back because they are a part of my gardening family. Another thing, you see all this? I can't even go through all this right now. These are all free pamphlets, just a few. What is sustainable agriculture? Cover cropping for pollinators and beneficial insects. Cultivating climate resilience on farms and ranches. We just finished talking about that. I mean, look, there's even one on best practices for sustainable urban farms, especially if you're living like in the city. You can still garden, you can grow foods, and it can even be very marketable as well if you're interested in that. So there's just a lot of resources in terms of that, and even talking about cover crops, and for farmers wanting to get into farmers markets, high tunnels. So just so much information. But just to say in a nutshell, I enjoyed this conference so much. And what really stuck out to me most was that I was around other people who loved gardening and farming as well. They were so kind, they were so friendly, they were so quick to share information, resources, make connections. That was just very beneficial in itself. I had some really great conversations with different vendors and booths that were visiting from across the state here in Kentucky and even in Ohio. And so it was really nice just to spend time with them, to talk with them. I found out and learned about different classes, and just so I can continue to learn. I love to learn. I love to learn because I love to share it. I want to share things with you all. What I learn on my journey, I want to be able to share it with you on your journey so that you also can become a better gardener and more sustainable through this process. I hope that this video was helpful and that if anything, you were able to take away a key point or even a resource. And so if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please join along and please be a part of this journey with me. I really want you to learn a lot. I want to learn a lot, but this is going to take a community to really help one another to become more sustainable and just really to have a lot more autonomy in our health. But I enjoy my time with you. I am going to bed because I'm tired. But remember to grow leafy, and I'll see y'all next time. Good night.